What's up, everyone? Welcome to Unmasked, where things are discovered, uncovered, brought to the light, and made known. I'm your host, Lamar Barrett, coming live to you from PG County, Maryland. If you're interested in finding out about the untold stories behind being a college coach, this is the show for you. Being a former assistant men's college basketball coach for 16 years, there are so many untold stories behind the scenes in the life of a college basketball coach. Now, let's unmask them. Today's guest was an outstanding player at University of Rhode Island, a longtime assistant coach now. He's been in it a little bit more than 10 years, so we're always a long-time assistant when you can say that. One of the young and brightest coaches in the business, and a New London, Connecticut native. New London, Connecticut native. Actually, even though he was born in hard-hitting New Britain, as I once worked at Central Connecticut,
That's
Tyson
right.
Willer. So Tyson was a, like I mentioned, a standout player at University of Rhode Island, where he led them to the Elite Eight in his senior year. Second round pick after that by the Toronto Raptors, and then ended up playing for the Denver Nuggets in that 98-99 season. Professionally, he played 10 years, including that year in Denver, where he had an outstanding career playing professionally. And then he gets out of playing, and he lands a job right at Fairfield, so he's back in his home state at Fairfield, working for Sidney Johnson as director of operations first, and then later becoming assistant coach. And then also, working for Ed Cooley first.
Yep.
Then Ed Cooley leaves and takes a job at Providence. Sidney Johnson comes in, he retains him, and he stays on staff for 10 years. And then presently now he's at Umass, working at Umass, where they had a good year. Very talented basketball player as well. We won't mention his name. Probably one of the best young guys in the country. But Umass is going to do big things, a big turnaround there. And Tyson is going to play a huge part in that. Want to welcome to the show, Mr. Tyson Willer.
Lamar, thanks for having me. I appreciate you having me on. This is a very exciting time right now. I love to get in front of people and tell a little bit about my story and how I got to where I am today, and I appreciate you having me.
All right, Tyson. So you say you like to talk. That's good. Let's get unmasked. So you jumped. You were up right away. So you played for as a college player, but then you play professionally. And you come back into coaching, and from when you played until when the game, going from playing to coaching, and now you're the director of ops. So you got two different scenarios. When you first started with that, and then it's when you actually became an assistant coach. But there's no handbook to being a college coach. That's the first thing. No one gives you direction. You're just thrown in the fire, figure it out. But tell me about your first day, that first week, first month, after things are done with human resources and things are done with orientation. Like, what's that like when nobody gives you direction?
Well, I was fortunate to go into a situation where my former roommate and teammate was a director of ops, and Antonio Reynolds Dean. So after I was done playing, I had tore my Achilles, and I wasn't getting the jobs that I wanted overseas. I had to get a job, back home. And so Antonio happened to get a job at Northeastern as an assistant coach. He's like, Tyson, I have an opportunity for you. Ed Cooley needs a dobo, and it would be a great opportunity. It's not as much money, obviously, you'd be making playing overseas, but, it'd be a perfect start for you so you can get into a coaching career. And, I knew Ed Cooley since I was a teenager. He was an assistant coach or kind of like a dobo at Rhode Island my junior year. So, Cooley came to my house. It was like, Tyson, I got a job for you. It's hard to get into the business. And, as a former player, and I'm sure a lot of former players think this way, we think we could get a job anytime. But talking to Antonio, and he basically told me, Tyson, it's not as easy as you think. Don't pass up this opportunity. And so I was like, all right, I'll take the job. I had no job. I wasn't having any income. I was working kids out. But so I was like, all right, let me try it. So the first week, Cooley brought me on staff, introduced me, and told me exactly what my job would be. And it basically felt like I was going to be a secretary. So he's like, you got to organize the buses, the hotels, the food, make sure we have our gear right, make sure all of your assistant coaches has their scout ready. So I was like, whoa, this is a lot of work. This is much different from, going to basketball practice 2 times a day and getting paid to play basketball. So it was a kind of a culture shock for me, but it was something that I wanted to try. I never really thought I would become a coach. But again, Antonio and Coach Cooley came to me and was like, this would be a great opportunity for you.
Awesome, man. Awesome.
Yep.
What, we all know that recruiting, the lifeline of winning games, the lifeline of college athletics is recruiting.
Yep.
Like, you finally get on the road a couple of years later, now you're out. Everyone has their own niche in recruiting, but like, can you remember what was your best and worst recruiting stories?
Whew. Well, first it was tough. I thought it'd probably be easy to get kids, but obviously there's so many kids out there, and there's so many college coaches trying to get kids. So for me, I was excited to finally see some kids that I liked, and this was like one of the worst stories. So I had Coach Johnson, Sidney Johnson, come to Philly. I was like, Coach, there's a point guard that I really like. I think you should come see him. Let's come out to Philly. Now, when you bring your head coach, you're expecting the kid to play great. Every assistant coach knows that. You want the kid to play great because you don't want him to look bad. So we get to the game. The kid picks up 2 quick fouls, but, he doesn't foul out. He has his worst game ever. I'm talking about the kid was terrible. No points, about 10 turnovers. Got to his 4th foul in the 3rd quarter, and Sidney turns to me and says, Tyson, this is the worst kid I think I've ever seen. Worst game. And I was like, no. I felt so bad. We drove 4 hours to get there. I was pretty excited about the kid, and he didn't play very well. So that was probably my worst experience. And then finally, we didn't have a great season. I think we had 7 wins. And then that summer, I got 4 out of the 5 recruits coming in, and they were really good recruits. And we went from 7 wins to 19 wins. So that gave me some, verification that I could recruit. I thought I could, had an eye for talent, and I helped change the program around. So that made me feel much better. And thinking back in Philadelphia, when we saw that kid, he didn't play very well. Sidney kept me for a couple more years.
That's awesome. You do hope, like when that you go, you do, like, you be praying like, man, he gotta play good. He gotta play good. And then when he plays bad, like, I've seen some guys, coaches, like, you really got me watching this kid here. So I feel you a little bit on that one.
Yeah, and Sidney's such a good guy, but you could tell he was pissed off, because we want to spend time with our family. When we get away from him and go recruit, you want to make it worthwhile. And so I felt so bad, and I was like, I'm never going to do that again. I'm going to make sure the kid is good enough before I bring my head coach.
Speaking of that, you said something about family, and like you played, you were gone, 10 years of playing. Now, you're back, and now it's, you go right into coaching, and people don't realize, like, how much time goes into this coaching. Like, it's not just like people all the time say, what do y'all do when the season is over? Like,
there's no
season. There's no downtime. So what did you have to give up achieving your current level of success?
As a coach?
As a coach.
Well, for me, it was kind of different. I've been with my wife now for 26 years. So, and she traveled me to Europe, but sometimes she would stay home. I played in the CBA and ABA. She wouldn't always travel me in, Quad City, Iowa. She would come visit me. So I wasn't always around as much. Obviously, when I had kids, my kids would come to me overseas. But then, so basically what I'm saying is we were already used to not being, I wasn't always used to being home, and my wife was used to, me being gone. So it wasn't a big adjustment. I was fortunate enough to get a job in Connecticut, being from Connecticut. One thing I did do is I would travel from where I live now to Fairfield, which is about an hour and 20. So that was a bit of an adjustment every single day, and I did it for 10 years. So I obviously got used to it. But you miss the family time, you miss some games, you miss some, some time at school, some plays that they may have, but they adjust, and you try to make it as much as possible. I was fortunate to work with Ed Cooley and Sidney Johnson, where they have families as well. And they always said, family is very important. So you don't want to miss things that you're able to see, like plays and games. So they always gave me, opportunities to be there with my family.
Awesome, man. Awesome. I say this, you talked about something you had your first couple of years of doing making sure the scout reports were read by the assistant. But I always say, scout reports are so important. You can do your best scout report, have your worst game. Players play, man. Players win game. You think you prepared, you got the team prepared, come out, lay an egg. You can do not gonna say your worst, but like not so great. You missed some things, especially when the game is going on. You win by 20. But what was your best and worst scouting report?
Whew. Well, I for sure my worst one was we were about to play Manhattan, and Mazziello has his own defense, very good press defense, and they're always playing hard. But they also run a lot of plays. He has a million plays, and so I was preparing for that scout, and we had a snowstorm, so the game got canceled. And we were going to play it a couple of days later, so I didn't really work on the scout as much because I thought I was already prepared for it. So we get to practice a couple of days before the game, and we have a high school team at Fairfield Prep come watch our practice. So I'm in there doing a scout, and I'm coming to one of the plays, and I totally forgot the play. I couldn't remember for anything. So I'm sitting there, and it was one of those plays where there's a lot of back screens, ball screens, flare screen. Like, it was a crazy play. And it was a lot. As you know, as an assistant coach, some coaches have a million different movements in a play, and sometimes they're hard to remember. So I'm sitting there, and I tell one of our players, stand right there. The guy's going to UCLA cut off you. And he didn't know what a UCLA cut was. So now I had to explain what a UCLA cut was, and I totally forgot to play. So now I'm sitting there, mind boggled, and I'm looking at Sid, and I said, Sid, I forgot to play. Now, there's kids watching, there's other coaches, the players are sitting there like, yo, you gotta give us. So Sid says to me, we'll figure it out. So now I got a piece of paper, I pull a piece of paper, I look at it, and I'm flustered. But then I finally figured it out, and I ran through the play. And so that game we played Manhattan, we lost. And Sidney was pissed. He was pissed because I didn't prepare our team. And so after the game, he's like, Tyson, one thing, you always got to learn is you always got to be prepared. Just like you used to prepare 7-8 hours on your basketball game, you need to prepare your scouting reports and preparing our guys to be successful. And that always stuck with me. And that's one thing I learned. Like, I didn't want to be out there and be that guy that didn't know the scouting report. But as a young coach, you think you know everything, you think you can remember everything, and things will happen where you forget. So that was probably my worst. And then my best scout report would probably be, again, against Manhattan, where they had that tough zone defense, and so we couldn't figure it out, and we lost to them. But I came up with some plays and some actions to run, and we totally dismantled it. One of our players had his best game. He had 46 points, and we couldn't miss. We beat him by like 15 to 20 points, and it was my scout again, and we won, and I was very excited about that. So it was a high to a low to a low to a high.
Two awesome stories. They're going from one, and the same team at that. So
exactly.
You're right. Good words by Sydney.
Yeah.
What's the biggest challenge you have experienced since being a college coach?
I think, obviously being a player, you always have that mental toughness, that competitive nature, and being passionate about the game and passionate about being great. So I think one of my biggest challenges is, and it's still to this day, is trying to get guys mentally tough and to be competitors and passionate about the game. You can prepare guys, skill development wise, scouting wise, watching games and getting them ready, but you can never be in their shoe during a game, or you can never be when they're not competing at the highest level to try to win. And you're sitting there watching, and you want to get out there and be like, yo, this is how you're supposed to do it. And they're not doing it. It frustrates you. So I think that's the biggest thing, trying to teach them mental toughness, which is not an easy thing to do. So true. So true. Yep.
Like you just talked about it, you teach the basketball part, that comes like natural to you. being an outstanding player. And I've seen you work, but like outside of that, like what would you try to teach, guys, your players besides basketball?
Well, I think obviously we're mentors, we're father figures, as well as coaches, and I think also a little bit of parenting. So everything you do with your parent, as a parent, you want to do with the kids you're working with. You want to make sure you're growing them into men. You want to make sure they're treating people the correct way with respect. Always be thankful for every opportunity that they have, because it can be taken away from you in an instant. As a player, I was 30 years old and I was playing my best basketball and I tore my Achilles. So, you never think your season or your career is going to end so quickly. So you always have to be thankful. So I try to teach those guys that, and I try to coach their minds. All the times you're trying to coach kids about X's and O's, but you also got to teach them to think for themselves, not only on the court but off the court. So I think that's something that you have to teach these young kids in order to be successful in life.
So true, man. So true. What are your best and worst memories in coaching?
I think my worst was probably, us getting fired at Fairfield. That was tough for me because I felt like I let our head coach down and our program down. So, that was tough for me as such a competitor and always wanting to win, and not helping my head coach keep his job was probably like the biggest letdown for me, the worst memory. And then I think the best memory is, I think one season we were 2017, 2018, we weren't expected to be very good, and we weren't having a great season. And then we won 10 of our last 13 games and went to the championship. So, we lost in the championship to Iona. Very good team, very good coaching staff, very good players. But it was a great accomplishment for our team from going, being down so much and having, a down season to winning 10 out of our last 13 and getting to the championship when nobody expected us to. So those two things.
Sounds good, man. Now this may lead into it, the same thing you just said. I don't know, but what was the most stressful situation you faced?
Well, after getting let go, trying to find a job, you got to take care of your family, and you don't know when your next job is going to come. And teams, coaches have been fired before. So you're always trying to find people and get advice and what your next step should be. So that was very stressful, trying to put food on your kids' table, taking care of your family and taking care of your bills. You never know when your next opportunity is going to come. So that was the most stressful for me. I've always had a job after college, so it was pretty easy. And my success came from being good in basketball and getting an opportunity to get a job because I was good in basketball. So failing and getting fired, now I had to figure out how I was going to get another job and basically sell myself to make somebody hire me. Or hopefully somebody would hire me after failing. So that was the most stressful thing.
And you landed, at UMass now. So
yeah,
that's a good thing.
Exactly. Thank God.
What this might make you think a little bit. You might laugh but what's the strangest thing a player has done outside of the basketball court?
Wow. Well, I had a kid I recruited, and he's obviously on the team already. And he was the host of another recruit that I had come on campus. So he's on his official visit. And come to find out, on that official visit, those two beat somebody up. And I didn't find out till years later that it happened. And I was like, what the heck? If that got out there, how bad that would have made me look. My recruit, both of them were my recruit. One was already on the team. Another kid that was thinking about coming beat up a kid on campus. So, that was the strangest thing I've ever had to deal with. Well, actually, I didn't have to deal with it, but I found it out after that. I was like, wow, these kids will do some wild stuff. And, as a college kid, I've done some wild stuff with myself, so I can't blame them.
You work for Ed, obviously. You work for Sydney. You work for McCall now. And I think you're young, like I said, young, bright assistant. Got a chance to get your own program, or could end up having a chance to move and maybe back home in your state. But like, if you had a chance to work for anyone in men's college basketball, we're not saying you're looking for a job, but who would that be, and like why? Like who would that be? Could be in the AD as well.
I would say there's a couple guys that I really admire and like. One is Matt Painter from Purdue. We played them 2 years in a row, and I had to scout. And just watching the way he coached and how he, was tactical in his game plans, it was very simple but very effective. Obviously, he had really good players, but the way he thought out the game made me think I want to learn from him. So that's one guy, definitely. Obviously, I already worked for Ed Cooley, so I know how he is. I would obviously love to work for him again. Konzo Martin, I would definitely want to work for him. Just watching him on Twitter and him talking, he talks more about the game of life and teaching these young men to be men. So just having him as a mentor and wanting to work for him and learn from him would be great. Another guy would be Tommy Amaker, another smart, intelligent guy. Sidney was, in Ivy League. He's a very smart guy, and I learned so much from Sidney. He taught me mostly everything I know about coaching. And I'm sure Tommy Amaker as well could teach me as much as Sidney can. So I think him as well. So Konzo Martin, Matt Painter, Tommy Amaker, and then another guy that I would love to work with is Kevin Sutton. He's been a mentor to me. He's obviously coaching at my alma mater, but he's always willing to give. And I've learned so much from him now that he's the assistant coach at Rhode Island. So, another guy I would love to work with. So, those four guys as well as some others, but, I can learn so much from guys. And I think a lot of people are afraid to learn and get advice. And I think that's one thing. If you want to be a great coach, you got to take from others and learn. So those four guys.
I like that. I like what you just said at the end. Definitely learning. Like, that's a big thing. And I can remember I had a scout against Matt Painter, and you're 100% right. Very tactical. Probably one of the most underappreciated coaches in the country. I think he's really good.
Absolutely.
What's the biggest accomplishment you have experienced since being in college coaching? You talked about it a little bit earlier about when y'all won, but it could be something off the court as well. But like, what's one of the biggest accomplishments?
For me, I would say communicating and getting used to talking in front of a lot of people. One of my biggest fears was always getting in front of people and talking, because I always thought I didn't sound intelligent enough. And so just getting in front of people and talking is a big fear that I had to overcome. And I think that's something I have been obviously working on, but something I'm getting used to. And it goes back to Sidney, who always made me get in front of people and talk. He always gave me a voice. He gave all his assistants a voice to get practice in talking. And as much as I didn't want to do it, I had to do it. So, and I think with scouting, you get used to it. You got to get in front of guys, and you got to coach them and teach them to make sure they understand. So I think that's one of my biggest accomplishments, talking in front of people.
Good stuff, man. Shout out to Sidney for that one. Like, what movie or TV title best describes your week?
Whew, my week. I don't know. My favorite TV show was Martin, and I think I'm kind of like Martin, very outgoing, easy, always joking around, can be serious. And I think all those encompass myself and my week. Being at home a lot, you got to come up with a lot of different things. Martin had a lot of different characters in his show. And so, being with the family 24 hours a day now, I got to come up with a lot of good stuff for my 10-year-old, my 15-year-old, and my 21-year-old for them to, be focused and have things to do. So I got to play a lot of different characters. So I would say Martin.
Good answer, man. And this, like, people don't know, and I can say it, like, one thing about you, when you walk in the gym, you always got that smile. You make sure you say hello to everyone. Yep. You always got that energy when you come in. And that's what you don't always see that. And it doesn't matter what level the coaches are, like who they are. Hey, fella, how you doing? Like, that's good stuff. A lot of people don't do that in this business. And so then they get, you know, people kind of like, you know, they ask questions about them. But what's your favorite word or phrase that you use?
Ooh, I have two of them. One that I got from Al Skinner, who was my coach at Rhode Island. And he used to say it all the time in the preseason. Ain't nothing but some shape. So we used to run so much, we would be in the pool, we would be on the court working, and we would be dead tired. You know, getting in shape is one of the hardest things to do. You know, staying in shape is what you want to do. Always be in shape. So he used to always yell out, ain't nothing but some shape. And me and Katina used to yell it out all the time after that. He only had to tell us our freshman year, ain't nothing but some shape. And now as a coach, it's so funny, the things you learn from another coach, you pass on to kids you're coaching. And I say it to all our guys all the time, ain't nothing but some shape. Another one is I got this from Brian Blaney, because I worked with him at Fairfield. And I remember him saying this one time. He said, don't say hello when it's time to say goodbye. And it's a great statement that, you know, I always carry with me and I tell our guys, and it's so prevalent because a lot of kids think this is going to last forever. You know what I'm saying? They think their freshman year is going to last forever, and all of a sudden they're a senior. And they didn't put in the work that they thought they should have, or they should have, should I say. And now they're scrambling. They want to, coach, help me get a job. They want to say hello now at their senior year instead of waiting their freshman year to say hello. Don't wait to say hello when it's time to say goodbye. Was my other statement.
That's a great line right there. I like that.
Yep. Brian Blady.
I wonder if he get that from his dad. I'm wondering if he did.
Probably.
And this is a question and I usually ask early in the show, and I'm gonna come back to it. Like, do you ever find that there are things about you that people might misunderstand? Like, what are they?
I don't know. I mean, I'm pretty outgoing. Like you said, like I try to say hi to everybody. You know, a lot of people take this job too seriously, and they don't, you know, communicate with people. They don't get to know people. So maybe a miscommunication about me is, am I always happy and always friendly? And why am I like that? And so that could be a misconception about me. I'm really like that. My wife said to me the other day, we woke up and I got up and she said, hey, babe. And I was like, hey, baby, how you doing? She's like, why are you so happy right now? You're always so happy. My boy Dwayne Woodward's the same way. Martin Bahar the same way. Yo, man, you're always happy. I mean, we're literally getting paid to watch basketball, to coach basketball. And I love basketball. And I love what I do. And I want kids to have the same experience that I had. So that's why I'm always happy. You know, things could be worse.
And Martin Bahar will be a guest on this show sometime or another, just to let you know that. He's already confirmed it.
That's my guy. He actually, Martin also, he was assistant coach with Sydney at Princeton. And when he came to Fairfield, he got moved down to the Dobo. And so, you know, obviously he probably felt some type of way, but he never showed it. And he tried to help me every way possible with recruiting, with scouting, with X's and O's, understanding the coaching game, because I was new at it. And Martin was right there with me at my side all the time. Tyson, this is how you should do it. This is what it should look like. You should try this. With recruiting, say this, say that, connect with him. He never got mad at me. And, you know, I always remember that. He's a great guy.
He definitely is a great guy. Yeah. What's the best piece of advice you've ever been given?
Probably from my parents. You know, always be thankful and grateful for every opportunity. Always be polite. Say thank you. Always look people in the eye when you talk to them. You know, those things I pass on to my kids and my players. And, you know, I think that's so important. A lot of people won't even look you in the eye when you talk to them. A lot of people aren't thankful for the opportunities that they get. You know, I've been pretty blessed from coming from New London and having an opportunity to play Division I basketball, to go play overseas, to meet so many different people, playing the NBA, being a college coach. It's brought me so many different places, so many opportunities. My son was born in Italy. So I'm thankful that I was given the opportunity, and it was from, obviously my parents teaching me that, but also people helping me. And I didn't get here by myself. A lot of people don't understand that. You think you could do it all on your own. You know, you need help every step of the way. If Ed Cooley didn't give me a job, Antonio Reynolds Dean wasn't my teammate, I would have never been in college coaching. So you got to be thankful for that and grateful. Another thing, my dad always taught me, never talk about your success. Always let other people talk about your success and how good you are. So, you get kids.
Wise, what?
No, go ahead.
Wise family, man. Wise family.
Yeah. So I never talk about myself. I teach my kids that if you're going to be good, great. Let people talk about you. So that's the two things that I've taken from my parents and I've learned.
What does success mean to you?
I think being happy, being in a space where you want to be. A lot of people have jobs that they don't like. I think success also, making sure your kids get through school, make sure you take care of your family. That's being successful. Coming up in New London, wasn't a big city. I made it out of there, and I built a family, built a home. I built a career. My daughter's about to graduate from Fairfield, so she's going to be a college graduate. She wants to get into the medical field. So I think that is successful. I have a wonderful wife who's taught me a lot. I haven't learned all this on my own. She's taught me a lot. As you know, you go home and talk to your wife to get advice because you think you know everything, but you get another aspect, another perspective from your wife, and you're like, dang, I didn't even think about that. So I think she's helped me be successful. And obviously my kids and my family, again, I haven't gotten here by myself. So people have helped me to become successful.
That's awesome, man. And you mentioned a word. The first thing you said was happy. So
Yep.
I always ask this question, like, where is your happy place? Some people have different, like some people like, I'm in the gym, I go lift, I go running, read a book, like, family. But where's your happy place?
I would say at home with my family. I can sit and hang out with my family all day long. I have no problem with that. It's funny, you'll see coaches, and some coaches don't even want to be around their family. Like, I'm glad I'm on the road. I need to go here. I need to go there. I love getting home to be with my family. They're the most important thing to me. So I think that's my happy place, being around my family.
Love that answer, man.
Yep.
Now, I know you're not a self-promoter. Like, you've always been a confident person. I don't think you've ever been cocky or arrogant. I think you've just been a confident person. That's just how you are as a player. So you carry yourself that way as a coach. I mean, and that's not a bad thing. But
right.
when I'm going to ask you this: like, if you had to choose 3 adjectives to describe yourself, which would you choose?
I would say I'm very humble. Say outgoing, and caring. I care about other people's success. I want to see people do good. There's so many times when you're coming up as a player, my dad always taught me this, that people are going to hate on you. They don't want to see you be successful. They don't want to see you doing good. So I actually care about other people being successful and, kids being good and going on to the next level and being successful. I really care, and I'm generally happy for them. I'm happy when coaches get jobs. This is a hard business to get into. I'm happy when coaches get jobs, and some head coaches or assistant coaching jobs. You can't hate on other people. You got to do your job, and good things will happen to you. This is the way I look at things. So, I'm caring, I'm outgoing, and I'm humble. This is basketball. It's a sport, and it's supposed to be fun. And you want to, teach your players that. Obviously, you want to win games, but it's also a teaching mechanism for life. You're trying to teach these guys to be successful in life, and that's our job, I think, as assistant coaches.
Now, what qualities do you value in the people whom you spend time with?
Well, that's a great question. I value honesty. That's one big thing. Be honest with me. Tell me what I need to hear, not what I want to hear. That's very important to me. I just like genuine people. keep it real with me. You know, one thing about me is we Sydney one year had a word for every player and every coach. You had to have your own word. My word was keep it 100. And when you first get into business as a player and you're trying to relate to the kids, sometimes you don't want to keep it 100 with them because you don't want to make them feel bad or you don't want to hurt their feelings. And after being a coach for a few years, keeping it 100 was one of my biggest things. You know, you got to tell kids what they don't want to hear sometimes and what they need to hear, you know? So same thing with me. Tell me what I need to know and what I need to hear so I could become better. So I think, you know, generally keeping it real with me, and I'll keep it real with you. So that's one big
I like that, man. I like those answers. What person and or event has had the most influence on your life?
Whew. As basketball, like just or in general?
In general. It could be.
Whew. There's a lot of them. I would say, you know, I get advice from Vin Baker a lot. He's a good friend of mine. He's from Connecticut. Ray Allen, Katino Mobley, Preston Murphy, Antonio Reynolds Dean, Al Skinner. So, I mean, I got a long list. You know, I talked to all my former coaches, Bill Cohen, Tim O'Shea. You know, obviously, Sidney Johnson has been a big mentor to me in teaching me and understanding how to be a coach and being a good person. I mean, list is pretty long. I have a lot of good friends. I've mentioned Kevin Sutton. He's always been there for me. I just have a bunch of guys that are always in my corner and always trying to help me. And I try to pass that on to other guys as well. So
great stuff. Great to have people like that, man, in your life. Now, how has coaching affected your life?
Whew, that's another good question. I don't know if it's affected my life. Well, I mean, I had to learn how to become a better coach and teaching without being so frustrated. Again, we'll go back to, you know, mental toughness and competitiveness and the passion for the game. You know, I used to get frustrated so much with our players when they didn't understand what I was trying to teach them. Like, for example, for like a scout, why they didn't get it. And I would, you know, get them animated, maybe yell at them a little bit. But that wasn't giving them the message that they needed to hear. You know what I'm saying? So I had to learn from that. So I think just learning to become a better coach and a better teacher of the game and how to communicate where I can get my point across, you know, and you can't let your emotions take over you in the moment. You know, sometimes you got to step back and it's tough. You know, it's different. It's different from when I played and coaches being on you. My dad was really on me, yelling and screaming. And some kids can't handle that. But that's how I was brought up, and that's how I was started out coaching. When dudes didn't get it, I got on them. And then I had to take a step back and really get the message to them by not yelling. And I think that also comes with parenting. You know, I'm not like my dad, hard on me or hard on my sister as I am with my kids. You know, I'm like my mother, a little bit laid back. I talk to them and try to give them examples so they can learn. And I try to do the same thing with coaching. Coaching and parenting are one and the same to me. So
that's facts.
Yeah.
Like, what is one key event that changed your life in a positive or negative way?
Oof. Well, I guess two events. Elite Eight, when I missed 3 foul shots to go to the Final Four. We were up about 9 points with a minute and some change to go, and we lost to go to the Final Four. So that was a life-changing event for me because my confidence was at an all-time high, and then it went all the way down. And that affected me in the years after that with my confidence. So I think that was a life-changing event for me. I wasn't as confident as I was after that. I really got humbled, you know, because I thought we were about to go to the Final Four. I was about to, you know, put URI on the map for life. I'm going to the Final Four, and boom, it crumbled like that. So I think that's one event that really humbled me, although I was always humble, but that really, like, anything could happen. Never get too high. So after playing, overseas, I always thought the game wasn't over until that buzzer went off. And I never took anything for granted. Every foul shot counted, every pass, it made me concentrate more. So that was life-changing in a good and a bad way. And then tearing my Achilles over in France. I was having one of the best years of my career in France. I got player of the month. I made the all-star team. I was getting paid the most money. I knew I was about to get paid the following year because I was playing so well. And I tear my Achilles. So that was a life-changing event for me. And now I had to, rebuild everything I knew because of my Achilles. Anybody with Achilles injury knows it's not easy to come back from. So I never came back from it. And, I felt bad for my family because I couldn't take care of them like I wanted to. So that was another event. So those two events right there were very life-changing for me.
Wow, yo, I mean, that would be.
Yep.
What energizes you and brings you excitement?
I think just watching our guys become successful, coming up with ideas to make them better, and also to help them become successful. I think that excites me, as a basketball coach. You had your own success as a player. A lot of guys that were former players had their own success. Now you have to see if you can, pass it on to the next guy, next generation, next kid. So that really excites me when I see kids that become successful. And I know that a lot of kids will become successful or believe in what I tell them when they hit me back up years later as an assistant, coach, how you doing? How's your family doing? I treated people the right way, and that's important to me. You always want to treat the people the right way and kids the right way, even when, they may transfer because the things aren't going their way, but they still hit you up. Keep it 100 with kids. And I think that's helped me as a coach, always keeping 100 through the good and the bad.
Good stuff, man.
Yep.
Last question. I usually love asking this because it's just to see how far you've gone and then what would you do. But like knowing what you know now, what would you tell your young self or younger self to prepare for as an assistant coach?
Probably things I would do or I would change as an assistant coach. I would probably read more. When I was younger, I would probably go to more clinics. Obviously, there's a lot of, podcasts now, so I listen to a lot of those. I read a lot more, but telling my younger self to do all those things, ask more questions, because there's a lot of people that are out there to help, willing to help you. And, asking more questions. Sometimes I don't want to bother people. I'll say what's up, but I don't want to bother them. So as a younger coach, I think those things are very important. Reading, asking questions, going to more clinics, and also doing more public speaking, or maybe even taking a class to get my master's in communications. You want to be a coach, you got to get in front of people and talk. I had opportunities where I could have got my master's at Fairfield, but I never took that opportunity. So that was another thing I would probably do. So,
awesome, man. Well, Tyson, man, I want to thank you again for being a guest on the show and being unmasked.
Yep.
Anything you want to leave the viewers with?
I really appreciate you doing this. This gives a platform for young coaches. A lot of people don't know us. A lot of people don't know the young coaches. So this is an opportunity, a platform for them to, get their name out there. I don't do a lot of self-promoting, but this is always a good thing. People that want to hire you will go back and look at this maybe, and you're doing a great job of that and getting guys out there. You've been in the business a long time. I know you for a long time. So, you always been there for me. You always give me great advice, and I appreciate you, and I appreciate that. So, that's one last thing I'll leave you with. And also for the viewers out there, always be willing to learn. Be a learner. Don't be a know-it-all like Kevin Eastman, once said. Don't be a know-it-all, be a learn-it-all. It's great advice. I'm always learning every single day. And again, reading and listening to podcasts. If you want to be great at something, you have to take the time to want to get better and learn. So
great words, man. And I want to thank you again for those kind words.
Yep.
And so thank you, viewers, for watching another great show. Stay tuned for the next guest as we get them unmasked. See you next time and stay safe.